Record. Fabulous. Right. Welcome, everybody. I'm Lisa. I'm the storytelling copywriter, ever so slightly stressed this morning. Thank you for bearing with. I promise I'm going to make this worth your time. Pluto can hear me talking from the next room. He's not pleased that he's not involved. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about building your brand story and how to fix patchy and vague messaging. I'll just start a little bit about, I'll say before we start, I talk very quickly. I'm going to do my best to slow down, but we are recording it. So if at some point you think, oh my God, Lisa, with your accent and the speed, I can't keep up, there will be a recording afterwards and you can just watch it so you can slow it down, can't you? But I will do my best to slow down so that you can understand me. So first of all, I'm just going to run through why should you listen to me? I'll just talk a little bit about my expertise and my background so that you know I'm not making this up. Then we'll talk about your problem. So the thing that's brought you here today, the thing that we're hoping we can fix. Then we'll talk about the bad guy in your story, and that's the three main things that often contribute to poor marketing. So we'll chat through that as well. And then we're going to go to your brand story framework, which is the main bulk of this webinar. And that's going to take us through step by step how to fix unclear marketing. And then we're going to do a quick shameless pitch towards the end, where I talk about my brand story workshop offer. And then we're going to move to Q&A. Does anybody have any questions before we start? Am I clear? Can everybody hear me? Really paranoid now. Okay, fantastic. So let's crack on. So why should you listen to me? Well, I'm a published author and I've been studying storytelling for over 2 decades now, since I did my English degree many, many years ago at uni. I've worked in communications, I've led large teams, but the main thing I want to get across is that I've got a master's in social sciences. And before I started my business as a copywriter, I was a social worker for 17 years. And essentially, what that meant was working with vulnerable people, asking questions, listening, and helping them to unpick their story of their lives and what had brought them to the point that they were at. And once we understood all of that in context, we then worked on how we can solve their problems moving forward. And now, essentially, I do that for businesses. So I don't help you solve your personal problems, but I help you solve your business problems in terms of your communications. So we get together, we spend some time together with you and your team. We dig into your values, who your customers are, what you're trying to achieve, and I help. The reason the social sciences is so helpful because I can pick out, really prod at the grey areas, ask questions, read between the lines, and pull out the things that you might not have already been aware that should be mentioned in your marketing. So that's just to give you a little bit of background about me. So I know words, I know people, and I use words to bring people together. So enough about me. What is your problem? So you might be here because you found yourself saying, I know what I do, but I don't know how to talk about it. Maybe you've rewritten your homepage 3 or 4 times and it's still not landing. Maybe when it comes to posting on social media, you're like, oh God, what am I saying? I don't know what to say every time you sit down to write a post. Maybe you've been networking for months and you know when you do your lovely 60-second pitch at the beginning, maybe you think you've been clear, but someone's just said to you, oh, in the middle of a conversation, I didn't know you did that. And you thought you'd been clear, you thought you'd been saying it. We've all been there. I've been there. When I first started networking, people would say to me after listening to my pitch 100 times, oh, I didn't know you did this. I didn't know you did this. So thanks for the comments, guys. It's good. Thank you. It's good to know that the tech is working. Um, maybe you're not getting the right clients, and this is the biggest area where it shows up. Maybe the people that you're attracting are the wrong kind of clients for you. Maybe they don't quite get the value. They're calling you up and you're going, oh, I mean, I can do that, but it's not really what I do. And maybe you're taking ages with sales cycles and people aren't getting the value and you're taking forever to get to a yes because you're not attracting the right people. So today we're going to learn why your messaging hasn't been working so far, and I'm going to take you through exactly how to fix it step by step. So next slide. The bad guy in your story. So let's start with the assumption and I believe this wholeheartedly, there's a market out there for everyone. That's not to say that you're for everyone. Nobody is. I'm certainly not. But whatever you do in the particular way that you do it, there are people out there looking for exactly that. You just need to show up clearly and authentically so that they can spot you. If you think about if you had a physical shop, if you don't put a sign outside that accurately communicates what you do and what's so special about you, people aren't going to know you're there. They're just going to walk past. And that's incredibly sad. So let's look at where your marketing might be going wrong. First off, if it's not clear or succinct. Now, we know there's a lot of noise around, and if you want to grab people's attention, you've got to do it quickly and succinctly. And that means speaking to something that's immediately relevant to them in a way that's engaging, memorable, and emotionally resonant. Now, this is really hard to do because there's so much to say and there's so much you want your audience to know. But if you just chuck a lot of information at them, they'll tune out if they were ever even tuned in to begin with. So be clear and succinct. And there's a surefire way to communicate something clearly, succinctly, in a way that's engaging, memorable, and emotionally resonant. And if you've been getting my newsletter for a little while or following me on LinkedIn, you'll know exactly what I'm about to say. Stories. So stories bring clarity. This is because stories are sense making. So if we take a complex idea or something that's as yet unknown to our audience and weave it into a story, what it does is it turns the abstract idea into a relatable experience that the brain can immediately understand and make sense of. So you may have heard me saying again, if you do get my newsletter, that we're wired for stories, and I'm being literal there. I'm not making that up, and it's how we've communicated with each other through the ages. So I won't bore you with the science lesson, but essentially, stories anchor abstract ideas and thoughts into things that the brain already understands, and it reduces the effort required for your brain to process that information. So because it's easy, because it happens straight away, your brain processes that information very, very quickly. People are far less likely to switch off. And the part of our brains that process memory is also the part that processes emotion. So if you tell an emotive story, people are far more likely to get it and they're far more likely to remember it. And stories are fun. When they're done right, they're engaging. We get hooked because we want to know what happens next. And this brings us on to a really essential part of your marketing. When you tell a story that's all about your ideal client and they instantly spot themselves in the story. So we need to speak to that and the thing that they want. So that takes us on to the other common mistake. I don't like that word, but it does sum it up. Um, you've got to speak to the thing that they really want. And that's not just the external thing they want. That's the internal driver, the thing that's driving them. Because our brains are wired to scan our environments for anything that will help us do one of two things: survive and thrive. Everything we do, everything we spend our money on comes down to these two. Every single thing you do, every decision you make comes down to those two needs. And it shows up in lots of different forms. So, and your service or product or your offering comes down to either one of both of those two things, I promise you. So whether you help someone to accumulate resources, maybe you help them find community, maybe you help them find belonging, maybe you help them become more attractive so that they can breed and continue their bloodline, whether you help them find security, safety, growth, acquire status, or the pursuit of pleasure. Everything comes down to all of those are different manifestations of those two primal core human needs. So underneath every problem we want to solve, every desire we have is something related to those two. I mean, I'm guessing you're here because you want to accumulate more resources, you want to grow your business. Maybe you're here because you've got something to say and you want to find your community, you want to find belonging. I mean, the reason that you're here is it's going to be whichever version of that is, it's going to be related to those. So what we're going to do today is dig deep and find out. Oh, okay, too soon. Dig deep and find out which are the primal human needs that you need to be speaking to in your marketing, because that's where a lot of marketing falls short. And that brings us on to the final common mistake. It's never about you. I haven't switched the slide. God, I'm awful at tech. I'm really good at what I do. I'm just awful at tech. Sorry, guys. I need someone to do this for me. It's like, can anyone do this? Can anyone teach me how to do this? If you can, please message me afterwards. So the final mistake, for want of a better word, is it's never about you. Now, this one is really, really hard because you want your audience to know about your skills, your strengths, the brilliant things you do, why people should choose you over your competitors. So, of course, you want to communicate all that stuff, and you absolutely must. But you've got to do it in a way that makes it all about your ideal clients. You've got to get their attention, you've got to keep it, you've got to make them feel something, and you've got to get them to take action. And if you talk about yourself, it's like going on a date. If you talk about yourself on the first date, you're not getting a second one. You've got to make people feel that you're interested in them. Well, you've got to actually be interested in them if you're going to be providing them with a service. And then you need to talk about the things that are relevant to them in a way that it lands with them. So now that we've identified the three common things that contribute to poor marketing and poor communication, I'm going to take you through the framework and I am going to slow down. I'm going to slow down and take you through the brand story framework. And that's the thing that's going to fix these three things. Okay, your brand story. Now, I'm about to ruin Kirsty, thank you. What have I done? Have I partly obscuring the presentation? Oh, has that
It's
time?
all right now. It was on the last slide. Just thought I'd give you a shout.
Those are my notes, which I am rattling through. Thank you, Kirsty. Thank you. I do know what I'm doing. Right. So your brand story. I'm about to ruin every book or movie you've ever loved. Your brand story is based on the hero's journey story archetype, which was, I don't think it was invented by Joseph Campbell. I think he just named it and crystallized it in the 1940s. Your hero's journey is a common story archetype that you'll see in movies and books. And once I talk you through it, you'll start spotting it in films and books and things stories that you hear. And when you adapt it to marketing, it gives you a really clear framework for speaking to your ideal customers and creating an engaging, memorable story that's all about them. So, first of all, I'll take you through the framework itself and what it actually looks like in a story. And then we'll talk through step by step how to use it in your own marketing. I'm going to grab some water. Lovely. Mm. Okay. So, every hero's journey has these elements. You've got your hero, the story, your goal, the bad guy, the stakes, the enabler who helps the hero along the way, and the happy ending. So let me give you an example from a famous story that most of you, if not all of you, will know from either the books or the films. Harry Potter. Okay. If you don't know Harry Potter, I can't help you. You need to go read the books or watch the films. It's very good. So the hero of the story is obviously Harry. And at the beginning of the story, he's an orphan. This is another common one that comes up in story archetypes. Often the heroes of the stories are orphans, but I mean, it tugs at the heartstrings, it works. We're always rooting from the hero from the get-go. But that's a common one, but that's not necessarily relevant for us today. I'm just going off. So Harry's the hero of the story. Now, Harry's goal at the beginning of the story, before the bad guy comes along, before anything happens, his goal is because he's an orphan, because he's grown up living in a cupboard under the stairs, he wants love, he wants community, he wants family, he wants to feel like he belongs. And then he meets Hagrid and he learns all about this whole world of wizardry, and he wants to learn to use his wizardry skills. So those are his goals. Learn how to become a wizard, find family and community. Those are the things he cares about. And he goes to Hogwarts and everything's looking really rosy. But then Voldemort comes along. He's the bad guy. Now he gets in Harry's way. He doesn't just get in Harry's way. The stakes with Voldemort are absolutely massive. Whenever you have a story, you've got to have stakes. Otherwise, it's just a guy waking up going, oh, I've got that goal. I need to get over there. There's someone in the way, but it doesn't really matter. You've absolutely got to have stakes. And in the stakes in Harry Potter are not only a risk to his life, there's a risk and the world of wizardry that he's recently found and is falling in love with. There's a risk to all his friends, his new community, his newfound family, and there's a risk to the wider world at large. It is literally a battle between good and evil. So the stakes are massive. Then you enter the enabler. The enabler is Albus Dumbledore. and Albus Dumbledore befriends Harry and shows him the way to the happy ending, which I won't spoil for you just in case you haven't seen it. Although I find it hard to believe there's anyone who hasn't seen the Harry Potter movies. So you might be wondering, what's this got to do with my messaging? Well, when we use this framework, it solves the three problems we started with. It makes things clear in a story sense-making way. It identifies and speaks to the external problem and the internal driver that's driving the hero, and it gives you a framework for showing your ideal client why they should work with you while keeping it all about them. So this is what happens when we apply that formula to your business. I'll give you an example of one of my clients I, well, worked with last year and I'm still working with. My client works in renewable energy. They help people who want to go solar, who want to get solar panels for their house. Um, the goal of the hero is they want to save money and save the planet, and they want to have their own self-reliant energy source because it's a very volatile world in terms of energy. The bad guy in this situation is not rising energy bills or the volatile market. Those issues are already present right at the beginning of the hero story. The bad guy for my clients' customers is the unregulated solar market because they've got their goal. They can see what they want. I want to get solar. I know I'm not happy with this volatile market. I'm not happy with rising energy prices. I'm worried about the planet. I want to leave a better planet behind for my descendants. I'm already aware of all that. I want to move forward and get solar. I can see what I need to get to. But the thing that stops them, and this is the bad guy, the thing that stops them is the unregulated solar market. Whenever they try to move forward, they're hit with confusion. And anyone who's ever tried to go solar will know this. They're hit with confusion. I mean, to use my client's language, cowboys in the market who are just looking to rip people off. They've heard horror stories about damaged roofs. Dave's smiling. They've heard about damaged roofs, poorly performing solar panels, systems that don't work and leave them still reliant on the grid and throwing money away every month to the energy companies, and stories about installers who go bust before their warranties even expired. So every time, and this is what's really crucial to bear in mind, because it's easy to think, oh, the bad guy is the rising energy bills. No, that's already present. That's a problem, but it's not the bad guy. Every time they try to move forward, ah, oh, Christ, unregulated solar market, confusion, stress, chaos, what do I do? So the stakes are if they don't fix it or if they make the wrong call, they're going to end up with one of those horror stories. They're going to end up with potentially a damaged roof or a system that doesn't work. They're still reliant on the grid, or they don't do anything at all and they're still paying money to the energy companies every month and they can see the damage it's doing to the planet. So the stakes are really high. And what we did with my clients is we made sure that we spoke to all these different elements in their marketing. My client comes in, my client knows everything about the industry, knows solar tech inside out, very clever people. They've vetted a bunch of installers and they can recommend the right solar system and the right installers for their customers. So we spoke there to the external problem. There's a lot of confusion. The market's unregulated. We can solve that for you. We can cut through it. But we also spoke throughout the marketing to the internal driver, which was the need for financial security, the safety of their own energy source in a volatile market, and preserving the planet for their offspring. Now, I should mention, I say offspring, it's a very technical term. Um, I should mention we had lots of different segments that they were speaking to, and some of those segments didn't have children and they weren't necessarily. So we didn't speak to the whole preserving the planet for your children aspect. So we segmented it so that we spoke to everybody differently. But for this particular group, the one that I'm referring to now, we spoke to retirees, people approaching retirement who wanted to know that their pensions were safe, they were going to have financial security in retirement, they had their own energy source in the volatile market, and that they were helping the planet for their future generations. Preserving the bloodline. I know it's a very technical term, but it's an internal driver. So there we've got financial security, we've got preserving the future for your children and your grandchildren, and we've got safety and security of having your own energy source in a volatile world. We also had one of the segments that I had particular fun with was we threw in that they could brag to their neighbours who were still reliant on the grid and bragging about the fact that they've got this great solar panel because that status was a concern with that particular segment. So we had a lot of fun. In the happy ending, we painted a picture of what life looked like after the hero, after they've worked, for the hero, after they'd worked with my client. They got the right solar system, they saved money, they had stability and security, and they knew that they were doing right by the planet. So I've rattled through that. That should give you an idea of how that formula, how the hero's journey works when you apply it to business. You immediately know who you're talking to, what they're trying to achieve, what's getting in the way, why it matters, and how will you help, while painting a picture of what life looks like with you in it. And what this does, it engages your audience by showing them from the off that you understand their problem, that you care about their problem. It starts to build trust. They think you might be able to solve it, and it lays the foundations for when you show them that you might be able to help. And just to give you a little bit of social proof, as we say in the copywriting world, this particular client I've just talked you through, when we wrote their entire marketing funnel, applying this framework, their conversions increased by 59%. So this stuff works, guys. And it was also a hell of a lot easier to create the marketing funnel content going forward because we knew the exact points that we were speaking to throughout. And the other element, the last element, is the good versus evil at the core of your story. Now, this is the thing that you stand for. With my client, it was they they genuinely believe that anyone who wants to go solar should be able to do it without being ripped off. And that was the language we used in the copy because it spoke to the people that they wanted to reach. Now, you have this too. You have a good versus evil at the core of your story. And that's the thing that what would the world look like without you in it? Now, for me, I genuinely believe that not being able to express yourself or use your voice to connect with others is quite possibly one of the greatest agonies a human can experience. To not be able to use your voice. And I'm not specifically referring to business here, I mean in general in life. To not be able to express yourself and connect is incredibly heartbreaking and lonely. And most of us, if not all of us, have been in that place of one time or another. And it's incredibly painful. It's agony. That's the word I'd use. It's agony. And I believe that there is a market for everyone, a tribe for everyone, a community for everyone. So in a world without people like me, people who had skills and something brilliant to offer wouldn't necessarily know how to articulate it, and they would not be able to connect. And that's not be able to connect with people who needed their service, not be able to connect with the community and people that would love them and appreciate them, that they would love and appreciate in return. So everybody's got that at the core of their story, and that's the thing that you stand for, and that's what we weave throughout the marketing. So now that I've given you a whistle-stop tour of how it's used, and I'm just talking really fast, guys. I'm trying to slow myself down. I can't do it. It's just not happening. I'm so sorry. Um, so now we're going to dive into creating your own hero's journey and how you do it. So we've got your business. Um, First of all, we start with the hero. Now you've got to get really specific. Who are they? What do they want? And obviously you break it down into segments, but overall, how old are they? What does their life look like? What does their life look like on a daily basis? What pressures are they dealing with? Are we talking to mums or dads who are doing a school run? And they're trying to do something around that? Are they people who are rushing from meeting to meeting and they haven't got time to sit down and do what they need to do? Are we talking to people who want to keep fit but can't get to the gym? Are we talking about people who've got a problem to solve, but they don't even know there's a solution, let alone what it might be? Get really, really specific about your client and the pressures that they experience on a daily basis. Then we dig into the goal of the thing that they want. Now, when you think about the thing that they want, what's nagging at them? You probably know the external thing they want. I'm sure you know that already. But when we think about the internal driver, picture them. It's 9 o'clock on a Tuesday. What's on their mind? How does their day look? What's the thing that they're trying to achieve? What's nagging at them? What's the problem they know they need to fix? They've woken up at 7 o'clock. What's the first thing that pops into their head? What's the first stress? What keeps them awake at night? What are they talking to their friends about at dinner parties and going, oh God, I really need to solve this. Or I really want that and I don't know how to achieve it. Just really dig deep into what's going on for them. When you get to the bad guy, now the bad guy's really tricky because it's sometimes easy to confuse the bad guy with the thing that prompted the goal in the first place. So, like the renewable energy example, for example, The bad guy in that story, it would be really easy to think, oh, it's rising energy bills, it's the damage to the planet, it's the volatile energy market. It's not. All those things already existed before the hero set out on their journey to achieve their goal. The bad guy is the thing that's getting in the way of them getting to their goal. So the way to drill down into this is to think about they've got their goal, they know where they want to be. What's stopping them moving forward? What's doing this? What's getting in their way? So when they're looking at their goal, they want to get over there. What's getting in their way? What's the wall they're hitting coming up against? And the bad guy has to be two things. The bad guy has to be the thing that stops them moving forward, and it also has to be the thing that you help with. Because if it's a thing that you don't help with, it's not your bad guy. It's not the bad guy you need to be speaking to. Then you've got to have the stakes. Now think about this, spend some time. What happens if they do nothing? Or what happens if they make the wrong choice? So spend some time thinking about if they do nothing, they carry on as they are, carry on with the status quo. Is the situation going to get worse? Is the same problem going to continue to persist? Or is it going to escalate? Is it going to get even worse than it is now? What if they make the wrong choice? What if they choose to work with the wrong person who's not very good at what they do? I would say if you work with the wrong copywriter, you're going to waste money and they're not going to get you the thing they want. But all copywriters are wonderful. So I would never say that about my lovely colleagues. So really think about that on two levels. What happens if they do nothing? And what happens if they make the wrong choice? And then you enter the enabler, and this is you. This is where you come into the story and you show the hero the way, how you and specifically you help them to win the day. So this is where we get really clear on your unique value, your unique selling point, the thing that you do in the particular way that you do it. I mean, I'm a copywriter. I know lots of lovely, fantastic copywriters, but we all do things in very different ways, all of us. But, there are various different ways of doing things. We all have our own special way of doing things, our own particular approach. My approach isn't going to work for everybody. When I have discovery calls with people, sometimes they cry. I ask curious questions and they sometimes end up going, oh my goodness, oh, I didn't know that was there. I mean, that works for some people. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people don't want to cry on a discovery call. Um, I probably shouldn't have mentioned that. Um, a lot of people now go, oh, craps, I don't want to cry in a discovery call. Um, so it's not just what you do, but there's the special way that you do it and how you help people specifically. And I mean, I will say when you work with me, we spend a lot of time drawing that out, but that's not what this is for. This is how you do it for yourself. So think about when you think about the enabler, what you're doing is you're coming in and you're providing a bridge from where your clients are now to where they need to get to. So their goals are over there, they're over here, and you're showing, hey, this is the bridge. These are the stepping stones. This is how I get you from A to B. So again, you're still talking about yourself, but in a way that's relevant to them. You're giving them a clear path, how you're going to help them get from A to B, leaving no room for hesitation or confusion. And then we show them the happy ending. So this is where we paint a picture in your marketing of what life looks like with you in it. And there's a variety of different ways to do this. You can do it with case studies. You can speak to it in your landing pages. You can use imagery. There are a million different ways you do this, but you paint a picture of what life looks like with you in it. Right. Now that we've run through that, the next important part is how do you use this in your marketing? Because it's all very well and good saying, okay, I've outlined this story. Now, how do I use it? What do I do with it? This is not a copy and paste job. It's not a story you use once. If you were to write this and then put it on your website, it would look a bit weird. That's not what it's for. This is a foundational narrative that informs all of your marketing and communication. So once you've got this in place, every time you create any marketing asset, anytime you are writing a social media post, or when you're looking at your homepage for your website, or creating an email campaign, whatever it is, you go to this and you go, okay, so these are the points I need to speak to. And it really narrows your focus. And it also makes sure that you keep coming back to talking about your ideal client and not drifting back to talking about yourself, because it's very easy to do. Um, so if you think of it like a logo, every time you create something online, whether it's a social post or when you're looking at your website, you use your color palette and variations of the same logo. You don't create a new logo every time. You don't pull different colors out of the air every time. I mean, imagine if you did that. Imagine if every time you had to create something for your marketing, you tried to come up with a whole new logo or new colors and new design. I mean, that's crazy. That is essentially what you're doing with your words if you haven't got your foundational narrative laid down. It's like building a house. If you're building a house, you start with the foundations and you build on that. This is exactly the same, but with words. Without a foundational narrative to inform all of your marketing, you're essentially throwing bricks in a field and hoping they land in the right structure. So I hope that helps just to explain how you use this. And when you do, you become known for the thing that you do in the way that you do it. People show up already getting it, and you're not scrabbling around anymore going, oh God, what am I saying? What am I saying? And it also means that your marketing spend is lower over time because you've laid your foundations. You're not reinventing the wheel every time. Okay, let me see. Right, okay. So I have rushed through that because I'm nervous, guys, because there's a cock up at the beginning. So I'm apologise that I've rattled through that. But that should give you an idea of what the brand story framework is and how to use it, how to apply it to your marketing. So now I'm going to move swiftly on to the shameless pitch. So this is my offer. I'll help you create your brand story messaging framework. So when you work with me, what we do is we have a half-day workshop with, and this is for solopreneurs up to small and medium-sized businesses. If you're a solopreneur, I spend half a day with you. If you're a small and medium business, it might be you and your co-founder. It might be you and your head of sales. In our initial discovery call, we'll chat about who you want in the room with you and who it's important to have in the room with you for this. And then we do a half-day workshop together. It's ideally done in person because it's a lot more fun, but it can be done online as well. So we spend half a day with you and your team, and we dig into your values, your why, your offer, the unique way you do things. And I read between the lines and I pull out the things that you might not be springing to mind. And I help you dig all of those things out for your hero's journey, for your customer and your offering. So we also dig into your ideal customer, who they are, what they want, why it matters to them. And we do some work around common objections and hesitations as well, so that we can speak to those up front in your marketing. Um, then we do your brand personality. We talk about who your brand is, what they like, what they don't like, what they like when they show up in a room. If you pictured your brand, your business, what do they look like? Because they don't necessarily look or sound like you. They're their own entity. Your brand personality is an entirely different entity to you. So we dig into that. What do they like? What do they care about? What's important to them? What do they do on a Tuesday morning? What do they look like? How do they sound? How do they speak? And we really dig into all of that so that, again, it's, some stuff around how you show up. We make sure that we're clear on how you show up and how you say the things that you say, as well as the things that you're saying. And we dig into your origin story. And this is my favorite part. This is the bit where people do sometimes cry. We dig into your why you started your business, what led to it, because you may think, oh, my origin story isn't relevant. I promise you it is. When you start by saying, okay, what are your two core values, you as a person? When you look back underneath all of those core values and you go back far enough, you will land on your why, your story, because there's a story that informed your values. There's a story that made it so that those values are important to you. And those values will always be fueling your business. And when we go far enough back, we'll land on the story that created them. And that's the bit that makes people cry. And that's the bit that's going to be resonant in your origin story that goes on your website. So, and one of the ways to do this, if you're struggling to find your origin story, is you can think, okay, so why do I do what I do? What's important to me? What are the two main core values that are important to me? And then you say them. You say, okay, why? And then you answer that question, why? And you keep asking why until you land on the bit that makes you cry. And if you land on something and you're feeling you're getting emotional, that's your origin story. That's the thing. And that's the thing that's going to connect with your ideal audience. That's what's going to move people. So just keep asking why. And that's helpful earlier, actually, as well, when you're trying to find the internal driver behind. Sorry, I'm jumping now. I forgot to say this earlier. When you're speaking to the internal driver for your clients, the goal, the thing that they want, what's driving them internally, If you're not sure what's driving them internally, take the external goal, so the actual thing that the external practical thing they know they want, and ask why. Why do they want that? And then ask why again, and keep asking why until you land on something that's to do with surviving or thriving. Okay, so we also do your origin story, and that becomes your about page on your website. And we do your messaging hierarchy. Your messaging hierarchy is the less creative, but very, very important structural part of your brand story framework. So it's essentially your scaffolding. It tells you what you need to say and the order you need to say it in order to remove barriers and move people towards a yes. So it essentially takes everything else in your messaging framework. Because as I said earlier, when you've got your hero's journey, you're not going to lay it out like that in your marketing. You're not going to put it on your website like that. You're not going to put it in your social media or email campaigns like that. Your messaging hierarchy, and this does come with a how-to guide. Your messaging hierarchy tells you how you use the information in your hero's journey to say the things that you need to say in the order that people need to hear it in. So it's your scaffolding, it's your structure. And when you apply the hierarchy, you get an emotionally resonant argument as to why you're the person to work with. And all this is pulled together into a brand story messaging framework with an accompanying how-to guide. So that's my shameless pitch. If this is something that you think would be useful, then give me a shout. I know there's at this point I'm supposed to say the price is going up next week. Quick, do this, or your business will catch on fire. I mean, urgency and fear do work, but it's not really my bag. So I'd rather you work with me because you're inspired, not because I scared you shitless. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna tell you that the price is going up next week because it's not. So if this sounds like something that's inspired you and something that could be helpful, then you can either email me or call me, or you can use the QR code to go onto my website and fill out the form. If you're not ready to work with me, but you're like, think about this for a little while longer, um, you can click on the QR code and that'll take you through. At the bottom of the page, there's a sign up to my newsletter link, and you can sign up. And fortnightly, I send out lots of tips on storytelling and marketing, etc. They're very short emails. They don't take up too much time. My notes have drifted over again, haven't they? And oh, bear with me. Yeah. Um, they don't take up too much time. And if you're not even ready for that, that's also fine. On my website, you'll find a section called Free Help, and it's got lots of blogs with storytelling tips and how to use storytelling in your copy, etc. So, yeah, feel free to have a snoop. Right. I'm going to stop talking now. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Um, do you have any questions? Anybody got
I've
any?
got one.
Thank you.
So you know the brand personality doc that you
Yes.
supply, does that include tone of voice as well?
It does. Yes, it does. It does. Thank you. Really good question. It does. It's not a full tone of voice document. You can hire a copywriter to come in and do a full tone of voice document, which is a workshop like what I've just described, but just on tone of voice alone. And that gives you extensive guidelines on how to say what you need to say in every single context where you need to show up. What I do is there's a tone of voice section because this is the overall brand guidelines. Oh goodness, Pluto's getting really upset with me. I'm gonna have to give him a lot of cheese after this. Um, so what you get here is when we talk about the brand personality, we do a section on tone of voice. So we identify how your brand sounds and what's important to them, and how they speak. So we'll go through things like, are you warm? Are you more corporate? Are you witty? Or I mean, I had a client last week who said when it calls for it, but we're not try hard and we're not, overly wacky just for the sake of it. So thanks, Liza. So we will do a section on tone of voice, but it's more a higher level overarching tone of voice guide. There are some examples in there, but it doesn't go into the weeds as much as a full tone of voice guide would. Hope that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? I'm going to breathe now.
Lisa, I do.
Mm, thanks,
Um,
Dave.
Very good, very good, very informative. As a bootstrap founder, do you have any other payment options like a 3-month retainer program or something?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do. Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a few different options. I mean, do you mean in terms of the initial brand story or the work that comes afterwards, or what are you
Well,
thinking?
the initial review of the business and getting the story down and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Yeah, just yeah, give me a call and we can chat through what
Okay.
works. Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely.
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Oh,
I've
I
got a
can see.
question. If it's okay,
Yeah,
Lisa.
sure.
Hi, that was great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you've said it was a half-day workshop, like face to face. How long does it take you? Just curious, how long does it take you to kind of pull together all the information that you then share back? And do you then do like a follow-up call or anything like that to explain it?
Yes, I do. Thank you. That's a really good point, actually. I should have mentioned that. It takes about 2 weeks for me to pull together the first draft. That's not all writing time. A lot of that is me staring at a screen, waiting for the muse to come and join me so that I can actually do the work. But yeah, it takes 2 weeks before you get the first draft. And then we have a call to feedback. So the purpose at that point is to look at you tell me, yeah, any feedback, any thoughts, anything that's inaccurate, anything that isn't landing, anything about the brand personality. You think, oh no, that's not quite me. Actually, because sometimes you might say in the workshop, I think my ideal client is this. I think they're going for this. I think my brand is this. And then when you see it written down, you might go, oh, actually, I'm not sure. And that's a really crucial part of the process is when we then get together and look at what we've created and go, okay, actually, do we need to tweak this? It's like whenever I do a first draft of a short story or any of my novels, I will any of my novels. I'm only on the second one. You'd swear, yeah. Um, you'd swear I'm 10. The first draft. The first draft is not just a first draft for the mechanics of it, but it's a really good opportunity to look at everything and go, actually, now that I've written it down, actually, I think it's this. Actually, I think we should go further this way or further that way. So yes, thanks, Tina. That's such a good question. We will once we look at the first draft together, we'll use that as part of the process to refine and make sure that it's landing. And then I go away and I refine from there. There's 2 rounds of revisions essentially. Um,
Okay.
before you get the final doc to take away. And I mean, I can then write all your copy for you based on the framework, but equally you use it yourself if you want. Yeah, hold that
So
answers that.
takes probably a good 4 months to allow for this to process to. It's not half a day. It's a good, but about a month.
In total, from start to
2 weeks and then
finish, a month. A month,
yeah,
yeah. The whole thing from start to finish takes a month, yeah.
amazing. That's great. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Anybody else? Can see we've got a celebrity on the call. You may have heard me talking about my ex-husband in some of my posts. He's here, and he's an introvert, so he's probably really pissed at me right now. Say hi,
No,
Russell.
not at all.
Sorry, had to. Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Hi, Dee.
Hello. Can you talk to more than one person in your message, or does it need to be one ideal client and one message at a time?
Right, yes, gosh, yeah, that's a really good point. Initially, we do your overarching brand story. I mean, that's what the main package is for. That's for your overarching brand story. So that's the overarching the avatar that we've come up with for your ideal client, and that is one person. But then what we can do, and that's further work, it's not included in the initial package, but what we can do then is apply or you can do it yourself once you've got the framework, is apply the framework to individual. So if you've got lots of different offers, you can then take the framework and apply it to each individual offer. So the overarching is we've talked to one person. There's a saying in copywriting, one reader, one message. You talk to one person. Oh, thanks, Becky. Thank you for coming. You talk to one person, but then yeah, you can then use the framework. Once you've got that overarching, you can break it down into segments. Yeah, if that's helpful.
Thank you. And well done for persevering with the tech. We got there.
Cried. I was honestly, I phoned
Oh.
Kirsty. I was like, I'm gonna cry.
You did brilliantly.
Thank you. And I also want to shout out actually, you've reminded me. You may have noticed by now I'm no good at tech or anything like that. If Dee did these slides for me. Dee is fantastic. If you need anyone to make your documents, your contracts, your stuff look pretty, go to Dee. What's your website, Dee? Is it 3 Doc Solutions?
Three
Yeah.
Doc Solutions. Thank you.
Embarrass you, sorry to embarrass you. I just thought I needed to shout out because there may be people out there who are like, I need to do a presentation and I can't do it. So yeah, if I'd done these myself, it would have been a carnage today. Anyone else
If
got any questions? Hi, Dave.
if I can jump in on what Dee was saying, actually, yeah, I feel mine's quite complicated because I've got two businesses, and my own personal brand, I suppose, and I'm also getting into another business. So obviously, the personal brand would be the strongest, and that would um, lead into the businesses, would it? Because I think what I'm getting at the moment is my message is probably very confused. Your analogy about the house, I saw that straight away. And changing the logo each time is putting a different brick on the foundation. So you can imagine the mess it would look when it's out there. So I'm really struggling with that side, really, to be honest.
Should we have a call just to chat? No
Yeah,
obligation. Would that
yeah,
be
cool.
helpful?
Yeah,
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 let's
brilliant.
do that. Yeah, I'll message you after this and we'll have a chat. We
All
can
right,
chat through. Yeah.
lovely, thanks.
I was just going to say, Lisa, hello. Could you just move a little bit to the left or the right so we can all see your phone number? Because your head is covering it at the moment. But
Right,
I
right.
just think that phoning people is always a great way to speak to them, I think, Dave. So give her a call if you like. Up to you, obviously. But yeah, your number's there. So
Am I
take a
moving?
note of it,
Can you
everyone.
see it? Have I moved in the right direction? I can only see my slides. I can't see what it looks like. Is
It's
that
all right.
working? Is
Just
that working?
there
Yeah?
we go.
Yeah?
That's great.
Okay. Where am I? I can't see what this looks like. Yeah, shall I
It
stay
was a
here?
really useful presentation, Lisa. Great, some
Thank you very
great
much.
points in there.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Oh, thanks, Kirsty. Yeah, there's my number. Fab. Anyone else before we finish up? Oh, okay. Thank you so much for bearing with me, guys. I'm going to do another one of these in about 2 months and do it better next time. This video will be available. I'm going to send it out. But thank you so much for bearing with. Really appreciate it. I'm now going to go and give Pluto a hell of a lot of cheese because he's really upset with me for leaving him for an hour. An hour, a whole hour. Right. Thank you so much, guys. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you. Bye, Lisa.
Bye. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.